USA Warrior Stories is a not-for-profit organization designed to record, archive, and share videos of veteran stories, to help veterans make a connection with one another and to help us all better understand their sacrifices for our freedoms.
I didn't want to get in the Army or the Marines, so I joined the Navy. And that's why I didn't wait for the draft. I joined in March, and they let me finish high school. It was unbelievable. I mean, we were out celebrating, and the next day I was out there cleaning streets in Detroit, because that's what they had us doing. We were waiting for the train to take us to Chicago. And then the train come in the evening, and we drove to Chicago. And next morning, we woke up in Great Lakes. I was coming up the barracks. We were going into the barracks, and I see this sign on the wall that says "Wanted, clerk, clerk for the adjutant's office." I says, "Hell, I should be able to do that." So I went in, I applied, and lo and behold, they took me. I did his office work. When he went out and did the inspections of everything, I went with him. I would note whatever he would tell me to note. He would tell me who to put on report because they weren't cutting it and stuff. So for all practical purposes, I bypassed all the preparation that the recruits were going through, because I was with him all the time. When we're getting to the end and everybody was being assigned to everything, I get mine and I says to the adjutant, I says, "What's this armed guard thing? What ship am I going to be on?" He says, "Armed guard, you're going on on a what? Merchant ship? How do I get off of this thing?" He says, he says, "Take it from me, just go ahead," because this is 44, remember. Most of the bad stuff was already behind us. He says, "Just go ahead." He says, "You'll be all right." From there, I got on a train, went to Gulfport, Mississippi. And that's where the Armed Guard had a part of the CB base. It was a CB base in Gulfport, but we had a piece of that as the Armed Guard. And what we went there for really was the first time first of all, they trained us how to abandon ship. Took you up on a big tower with a little pool down there, about as big as this one. And you had to jump off. Oh man, a lot of guys they just sit up there and wouldn't go down. You had to learn aircraft identification. They had machines that would flash bombers and pursuits and stuff, and how quick you could identify them so that you could start setting your guns. So we did that there, and then we went out on the Gulf, and we fired 20 millimeters, no 40s. Those were too new. I think we fired a 350 and 20s. That's all we fired there. And then from there, they sent us to, and excuse the language, they sent us to the hellhole of the world, Shell Beach, Louisiana, which was out in the bayous, and that's where you got more practice. They had ships pulling targets. They had airplanes pulling targets, and the thing was going 24/7. We went from there, put us on the buses. We went to New Orleans, Algiers, which was across the river from New Orleans. We were waiting for assignments, all of us. So one morning I get up, I got assigned. I got assigned to the Christian Berg. It's a brand new Liberty, just come out of the Delta. I report to the ship, and I don't know how long I was actually there. I got pneumonia. Well, they took me off because I had to go to the hospital. And I was there, seemed like almost 2 months. Then finally they figured I was healthy enough to be discharged, so they gave me a train ticket, and I went from there to either, I forget which it was, Port Arthur or Beaumont, to the Sun Oil Company, and that's where the tidal gas was. And I got on the tidal gas. So I get aboard, and of course there's an ensign, and there's a coxswain, and there's a signalman, and then there's, I don't know, 20 seamen, I guess. But the ensign got called off the ship because things were quieting down on the Atlantic. So they needed those guys to get ready for Japan invasion, so they took the ensign off. So they promoted the coxswain to be in charge. After a certain time, the coxswain got a note, orders, go home. His mother died, and he had a sister, little sister, and he had to go home and got a hardship discharge to take care of the sister. So you got to remember, this is going into 45, things are slowing up. So guess who became in charge of the crew?
Little Jackie?
Can you even imagine something like that? So here I am, no ensign, no coxswain, just me and the signalman. I was still a third-class gunner, but I was the Navy connection with the merchant marine captain. So we basically were down in the Caribbean and down in southern Atlantic, and then sometime we did northern. We went up in the northern part of the Atlantic. I spent a whole little over a year on the tidal gas, and then when we were coming home on the last trip, the captain got orders that we had to get rid of all our ammunition. We had to throw it all into the Caribbean. So we spent days marking, just bringing everything up out of the magazines. We threw everything away. We jettisoned all of it. And one thing I didn't mention is that our 5-inch on the stern was off the Arizona. And I didn't know that till I was aboard, because it never worked. It never worked just right when we went to fire, and it was only a surface gun because the Arizona was an old battleship. This tanker, when the Japs were coming to bomb Pearl, this tanker was delivering a load to Pearl. The tanker breaks down, has engine problems, falls off schedule. They have to repair it. When they come into Pearl, Pearl's all bombed. And the picture, well, you're young, but that was a Look magazine or Life, one of those two magazines, had the cover of the Arizona exploding. That picture was taken off the tidal gas. We stopped at New Orleans, and then we went to Bayonne, and I left the ship there for Christmas and New Year's. When I came home for Christmas and New Year's, I got orders to report to Sacramento, California, to Shoemaker, California. What it was a transit kind of. Guys were coming from all over and being reassigned, and they also had German prisoners there. Me being a gunner's mate, after I was there a little short time, I was assigned to guard German prisoners. And those guys were really something. They were not just the ordinary prisoners. These were these were very intelligent, spoke 5, 6 languages, and they were very nasty. They were very nasty. So when they really wanted to get under your skin, they'd look at you and say, "You wait till the next war." Then they reassigned me to San Francisco, and then I decommissioned the Quastanet, which was a auxiliary oiler, and then I decommissioned the LST 668, which came in from Okinawa. It was all beat up, one engine, all rusty. I was still waiting for assignment. They said, "You got 26 points." I said, "What does that mean?" They said, "Well, you're eligible for discharge." I said, "I'm out of here. Where do I go?" So they sent me back to Shoemaker, and I got my discharge. The Armed Guard will never be activated again. It was activated for World War I and World War II, but it will never be activated again. The military moves supplies and people differently now. They don't move them the way they did for World War II with troop ships and things. That's not going to happen. And so I'm again a white elephant. There's no more armed guard.